Would you like the angry Red Sox text of the morning, Curtis?
Why are you angry?
617 text that says Red Sox are undefeated since the deadline, but you morons keep talking about Craig Breslow and what he did at the deadline. I don't know that we keep talking about that. We have discussed it from time to time.
Good morning.
We have discussed it from time to time over the last couple of days.
He looks like, he looks like in this position right now because of the way Giolito and Bello's pitching, that he made the, not necessarily he made the right move, but there weren't deals out there that he could get done.
Yeah, I've seen the building of the fall guy, and that is going to be Breslow if and when the team falls off, because Carabas has been saying that there were people in the building miffed at his indecisiveness. And I would also just say, I don't know if anybody believes this. According to Bradford, you had Theo Epstein, you had Alex Cora, Sam Kennedy, John Henry, Gordon, everybody in the room on the trade deadline day. And according to most of the reporting, the offer to the Twins for Joe Ryan came very late.
Yeah.
Why, if you're John Henry, or if you're Sam Kennedy, who we can ask Thursday at 9, or you're anybody in that room, you have the ability to say, hey, call the Twins, give them this offer, let them know that we're here, and if they get a better one, to give us a call, and we'll try and sweeten it.
It sounds to me like it was your typical negotiation tactic where you're waiting until the end so that you are going to hopefully get the best deal for yourself. But I agree with you.
But Joe Ryan, Greg, I understand that the Twins were having a fire sale, but Joe Ryan isn't one that they are saving money on. He only has $3 million coming his way.
Right.
So it's not like in the last minute they're like, oh no, we have to offload this guy, otherwise we're set with the bill.
Yeah, I mean, the reporting or the whispering is that by the time the Red Sox got around to taking it seriously, the Twins had already moved. They were making so many other moves that they were already. What?
I don't buy that, because if you really are willing to move on from Joe Ryan, if you're Minnesota and a good enough deal comes in, whether it's at the 11th hour or if it's a week before, you take the deal.
So then what happened in your mind?
I think that the deal that Breslow offered wasn't good enough for the Twins.
But that's when you have negotiations. And I think that's what's frustrating to people, is that for Craig Breslow to come on the show and say everything was on the table. We put guys on the table that we said we were never going to.
We got uncomfortable.
So if that's the case.
But do you 100% believe that?
Well, so what's he lying about?
Well, I think that there were guys that were on the table, but for a certain price, right?
And he wasn't willing to part. You're talking prospect price, not what it's going to cost you. Prospect price, he wasn't willing to do that.
Yeah, whether it's prospects, whether it's current guys on the current roster, I don't know. Maybe he says to Minnesota, okay, we'll give you these prospects A, B, and C, and they're like, oh, we want those. Plus, we need you to throw in Durant.
It was feeble because it came late and it didn't have what they wanted. That's why Ken Rosenthal called it feeble. And I just want to ask everybody.
Well, then that's my thing. It's really you didn't give them what they wanted.
Does anybody believe that Craig Breslow was operating the war room at the trade deadline and it was up to him and him alone what they could and couldn't do?
No.
Does anybody believe that if John Henry, Theo Epstein, Sam Kennedy, or Alex Cora said we need to make a deal, figure it out, that he would have had to figure it out?
Yes.
So then why does anybody waste a second on Craig Breslow? He is just the figurehead. He was the 10th guy to interview for the job. Why do we allow these, they've already started it. Carabas talking about how people in the building, and I believe him completely.
Yeah.
Completely people in the building were very frustrated by how rigid he was. Okay.
Well, they can't be frustrated if they were all there at decision time,
right?
And they weren't telling him you got to do it.
I got calls on Saturday with Ken where people were like, well, Breslow didn't want to make the deal. I'm like, Alex Cora makes 3 times what Breslow makes. John Henry owns everything. Like, are you really telling me that Craig Breslow was the one who was in charge?
But he's the one finding all the traits. So like, it's
But
not
they're
John
all in the
Henry and
room.
Alex Cora. Yeah, exactly. But if Craig Breslow doesn't get an actual trade offer on the board, then he has nothing to propose to them for them to tell him to accept it.
Well, my guess is that John Henry says, we need to get X player, figure out what the deal needs to happen, and let's execute it.
But
there may be something. I think I heard you guys talking about it Saturday. There may be something to the suggestion that the teams don't like dealing with the Red Sox and haven't for quite some time.
Right. Because
was that you guys talking about that?
There's a lot of people out there that believe that they are being spun for PR purposes when the Red Sox are, quote, in on something, when the reality is the call is just to make it accurate that they were in on X player, whereas other teams at the deadline just want to get a deal done and aren't being used for PR purposes.
I think if John Henry and those guys are in the room, and I kind of lean a little bit to Shime's point, but I think that he's basically said, okay, Brez, you're going to do all the baseball stuff. He then comes back with a package and says, hey, John, this is what we should be willing to do to get Joe Ryan. Minnesota doesn't like that, and maybe John Henry goes, if you think that's best, Brez, then let's not do that. If you don't think it's worth it to give up Duran part of that deal, and I'm just using his name for
it doesn't. It costs you $3 million, like, and prospects. Like if that deal, I just think they were way too late on it. Like, I don't think that deal ever was presented to them, and John Henry said no. Curtis, like, you don't think that, right?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah.
No, I think that they were not as aggressive as they want us to believe they were, because John Henry really wants to have the maximum amount of flexibility with all these young guys around, and they traded several top prospects to get Crochet, and now their other prospects are playing in the big league clubs, so maybe they don't have the depth that other people
So
thought.
do you think John Henry says you can trade you could trade player XYZ, prospect XYZ, but you can't trade these guys?
I think John
he has
Henry.
no idea
Right.
which
So
prospects are good and which aren't.
so I don't put it on John Henry. I put it on Breslow. If you're not giving Minnesota the best possible option, and I'm not buying that.
Wait, so you think John Henry wanted them to trade more and Breslow said no?
No. I think that Breslow went to Minnesota, gave them an offer for Joe Ryan.
That John Henry probably approved of.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
And then Minnesota said, no, we want more with that.
Okay, so
and
then
then Breslow said,
I think John Henry probably said everybody is on the table except the password.
Ooh.
Well, if you believe Jeff
Do you ever
Passan,
use the Google password when they say use a strong, or do you just create your own?
No, I always create my own.
Yeah.
I use the same one.
Yeah, bullet 1, 2, 3.
That's really bad.
I mean, it seems fine.
One hacker gets it.
I do have trouble. I did have trouble logging into Roku to watch the game the other day.
This DoorDash account is loaded.
Is baseball ever going to be on just the regular network that one gets
No.
on their cable system, or how is that going in the future?
I have no idea. But I do know that if the Red Sox wanted Joe Ryan, they would have Joe Ryan. That's really simple. And it is not because of Craig Breslow. It's not because of any of the way the scouts.
so then who's it because? Like,
It's the organization.
So the organization said, we want Joe Ryan, but we're not willing to give up this piece?
What it takes to get him, right, which is why they call the pursuit
So
people.
then that would be on Breslow.
But if Ryan was on the Curtis, a texter wants to know if Joe Ryan was on the table, why didn't anybody else get him? If the Red
because
Sox
his salary was not onerous for the Twins. He is not someone that they're going to have to pay a lot the rest of the way.
it's $3.5 million or something, right?
So they'll wait to the offseason.
and they want the best possible deal.
Right.
So
the Reds-
nobody gave them the best possible deal.
The only deal that they described as feeble was from the Boston Red Sox.
Right, but to Greg's point, if there was a good enough deal
I'm
out
just
there,
asking, why did they call it feeble? They didn't
I
say
don't
that
know
about
why.
any other
Well, so,
team.
but now
somebody's a huge Avengers fan, because I think that's what Thanos said.
That's
Yes.
what's the best
Feeble
explanation.
human beings.
Right.
But I just look at if Breslow they gave a counter to Breslow. Minnesota gave them a counter. I don't care if it was at the last hour. A lot of deals get done the last hour before the trade, the last 10 minutes before a trade deadline. Minnesota gave them a counter. They elected, the Red Sox, not to go with whatever that counter is.
Listen, they're undefeated since the deadline, so maybe Bresbot was spot on.
Right. If I don't put the trade, honestly, I put the trade, them not doing nothing, getting somebody, I put it on Breslow.
Good morning.
Hi.
I think Henry says, hey, you're free to do what you want with the baseball. You know, if it's a money situation, and clearly it wasn't, so he doesn't have to sign off on money.
4-0 since the unfortunate incident in Fall River, I'll tell you.
Yeah, they look pretty good. He's getting the last laugh right now.
Did you see the text that Ken sent Sam? It's a video of him cheering when everybody was booing.
No, I didn't see that. But yeah.